Okay, I'm so glad you guys are with me. This is something I've wanted to do forever, and it's a lot of information. So, one thing that I think is going to be really awesome is that we're going to go over today 4 steps for you to start healing your brain. And I think that that's such a huge thing to say because there's so many sides to this. I already gave you guys a head start because I did an Ask Em on this amazing neurofeedback thing. So there was this really cool thing that I found last year in Denver, and they exist everywhere. And I really wanted you guys to see it and experience it. So go watch my last YouTube, my Ask Em. Emily Schramm is my YouTube, and I have all these awesome things about how you can all this technology about brain support, and it's really cool. And if you have access to it, you should totally do it. Anyway, the point of this whole thing is that I kind of want to give you guys a little bit about my story. I'm going to talk about a lot of things, 4 things specifically, but we go into great detail. And I think that you guys are going to really dig this. And I don't know if how many of you guys know how nerdy I am. So if you are not sure what I'm saying, if you're like, oh my God, what was that? Then please ask. I will do my best to answer questions. I will say that this is something that it's really intense and it's so individual. So for some people, I think that that's the thing with fitness and wellness and getting healthy is that so many people like blanket statements, like they want a one size fits all answer, whether it's diet or nutrition or exercise. And to some degree, you can give that, right? But there's also this very big piece that you have to know is that what works for somebody to your left might not work for you, and it might be different than the person on the right. And so my goal is to give you guys the exact tools that you need to help figure out what works for you. And that's why these questionnaires are so awesome. We're going to go through a little bit of the questionnaires that I have that I do with my clients. I posted about them on my Superhero Challenge page. We're going to talk about signs and symptoms, but if you really want to dig into what's right for you, I put together a webinar that's going to be next Thursday. So this webinar is going to be amazing because you will have access to all of this, and we'll go over exactly for you what we need to work on. So just keep that in mind. If something's getting a little too heavy, I want this to still be digestible. I don't want to get into the nitty gritty of everything because it's a lot. So that being said, this is 4 ways to start healing your brain. And I think it's going to change somebody's life because it's changed my life. Let me tell you about my life. Why am I so into this? Why do you care, Emily? Seriously, it's kind of a weird thing. Like everyone sees me as just like a fitness person. And yes, I am a fitness person and I love my fitness, but I actually think fitness saved my life because of what it did to my brain. And I didn't even realize how connected they were. I have had 8 concussions, very severe concussions. And oh my God, someone from Kirksville, Missouri. Hi, Brian. That's so awesome. I'm from a very small town in Missouri. Kirksville, Missouri. I don't know what it is. Everyone asks, how did I get my concussions? And I got my concussions various ways. I just had the worst luck. I had the worst luck with my head. My first one, I was 3. I fell off a bike and hit the side of my head. The next one, I was 5 or 6, and I hit a water slide. I was finally tall enough for the tallest water slide. And I remember being so proud, and I slipped and hit my head, and just things like that. I've had them, I actually hit a pull-up bar in a CrossFit class. I've hit a kettlebell. I had a horrible wakeboarding accident. Lots of horrible head injuries. I don't know why. I just have bad luck with my head. And I feel very blessed because of the information I know now. But I'm telling you this because I have also at the same time, since as long as I can remember, 3 or 4, had horrible digestive health. And what I mean by that is everything I ate made my stomach hurt. I was always cramping. I didn't know what was hurting my stomach. My mom and dad never knew what was hurting. My sisters, they thought I was lying. Every time I would eat and my stomach would hurt, they thought it was a way for me to not wash the dishes. They were very much, nobody knew why my stomach hurt. I didn't know why my stomach hurt. I thought that that's just what my life was. I thought my stomach was always going to hurt, and Emily just had a sensitive stomach. And what is really amazing is that I found out, and this is our first way to heal your brain, is that I found out that I'll just start with the study. There was a study of rats and what happened with these rats, and it's kind of terrible to talk about, and I hate talking about, I don't know, animal studies are necessary, but it's still kind of tragic. So they took these rats and they hit them in the head and they induced brain trauma. And within 2 to 4 hours, these little tiny rats had intestinal permeability, which means their gut was inflamed and permeated so that all of a sudden the nutrients that we absorb in our gut were no longer able to do, it wasn't able to do its job correctly. And our gut heals very quickly, and it's very amazing, and it's so cool how our gut works. And what I mean by gut is our small intestine. But if there's any sort of bloating or gas or digestive stress, what it does is it pulls apart that small intestine, and now our body is inflamed. And so one of the first ways for you to start healing your brain is for you to start healing your gut. And I think people accept the fact that they're bloated and cramping and that certain foods make them their stomach hurt, or acid reflux. I see this all the time. Oh, I'll just take a pill for acid reflux, or I'll just pop a pill for some stomach upset. There's a reason your stomach's upset. It's not supposed to be upset, and we have to figure out why. And there's so many reasons why for each person, and I'll break it down a little bit, but that's why I want to do this webinar with you guys. Please sign up for this webinar if you're interested, or if you have gut issues, because I swear this changed my life. I thought that I was just meant to have gut stress, and that's what it was. That certain foods are going to make my stomach hurt, and that's it. But it's not the case, and it changed my life to figure out that wasn't the case. And when I have foods that make my stomach hurt, you all know this feeling. This is like too much information, but like everyone has a bad day when they can't poop. Like, let's be honest. Like, if you can't go to the bathroom, or you have if it's bad, it causes you anxiety. That's like the greatest example about how the gut health is tied into the brain. There's this gut-brain barrier, and when your gut is leaky, or there's intestinal permeability and it's not absorbing nutrients the way it should, your brain is also struggling with the same thing. And it's fascinating. There's 1,000 studies that we're going to go over in the webinar about how this is like fact. This isn't just some hippie person telling you this. And it's true. When I tell people the reason that I don't have gluten, the reason that I don't eat certain foods, it's not because I don't love bread. Do you know the number one food that I ate growing up? My mom would bring home French loaves and Hawaiian King's sweetbread for me every day because I love bread. I was a bread addict. Why do you think my gut hurts so bad? And now when I have it, and I might accidentally have it, or sometimes I just say, fuck it, I'm going to eat it. I'm going to have some pizza. My brain the next day is depressed. I swear to God, everyone thinks I'm crazy, and I am crazy, but it's different. There's a chemical reaction that when your gut releases inflammatory cytokines, your whole system releases this inflammation response. Your brain is also going to feel that. And I just want you guys to understand that gut health is related to brain health. And I want as much as possible for you to start healing your gut. And there's so many ways to do it. Really briefly, and this is some questions I'm going to this is questions I give my clients, and if you join my webinar, these are questions you will get sent to you. Do you have belching or bloating? Do you have heartburn or acid reflux? Do you have a loss of taste for meat? Is your stomach upset when you take vitamins? This is weird, does your sweat have a strong odor? Here's a few more. Do you skip breakfast? Do you feel like do you feel better if you don't eat? Do you feel like skipping breakfast? Do you get sleepy after meals? Do you have like irregularity, like sometimes constipated, sometimes diarrhea? These are all upper digestion issues that we can talk about. Do you need HCl? Do you need stomach acid? Do you need enzymes? Do you need this is also something we're going to talk about in the webinar. Do we need to stimulate your vagal nerve? Are you too stressed to calm down and digest food? How many of us are just eating food in the car, on the go? I do it all the time. I did it 2 times today, and it's such a bad habit, and I really try to break this habit. But what I do when I'm eating on the go is I know, one, I got to stimulate my vagal nerve, and I always have an oil that does it for me, and we'll talk about this in more detail. And sometimes I take stomach acid because I know I'm not going to be doing what my body a service by eating this on the go, and stomach acid is actually the lack of stomach acid is what causes heartburn, not the excess of stomach acid. So there's so many things that we can break down when it comes to digestive health. The other step, if we go a little bit deeper, is when your gut is pulled apart, we need to pull that back together. And there's amazing supplements out there that do it. I'm just such a believer. I used to think that you could do everything with food, and bone broth is amazing for that. Collagen can definitely help, but when you don't give your body the ability to basically take those tight junctions and tighten them back up, then you're going to cause more inflammation. And it's not just, I hate this answer. When people say, take a probiotic. Oh my God, it makes me want to just slap people. I swear to God. Sometimes probiotics can make things worse if you don't already have a permeable gut. And I see it happen all the time. Who's taken a probiotic and it just made them more bloated or made them more gassy? If you don't have a good bacteria in your gut, if you don't have a colony for this good place to live, why would you shove more bacteria into it if it's not already doing its job? This is what I mean by it's about figuring out what's right for you. Don't just read articles online and say, oh, I need to take a probiotic. Okay, pop this, my stomach hurts. It's not going to be a magic pill. It's about figuring out what works for you. I'm going to go on lots of rants and I apologize. Slap them. Oh, I'm not really going to slap them, but like for real, it makes me really frustrated because there isn't just one answer and we're going to figure out what's right for you. But gut health is huge. And I love this saying, when your gut is on fire, your brain is on fire. And it's true. If you aren't thinking correctly, if you have anxiety, if you are just having trouble sleeping, sometimes it's as important as your nutrients that you're getting from your food. And you cannot absorb nutrients when your gut is unhealthy. There are so many clients that walk into my office here in Denver, or I talk to on Skypes, that are struggling so much with simple things that have just ruined their life. They can't drive at night. They feel bloated. They can't go out to eat because they're going to run to the bathroom, or they can't concentrate in class. And it just comes down to the vitamins and minerals that we eat. And if you can actually break down your food appropriately, figure out why you aren't breaking down your food, and then absorb those nutrients, holy shit, your life will change. Every single cell in our body is based on nutrients. And if you aren't getting those nutrients, your body's going to start falling apart. It's not as black and white as your body is healthy or your body is sick. I think all of us to some degree are fighting sickness, and this inflammation that we have from stress, which we'll talk about in a little bit, is just really important to know. Like gut allergies, food sensitivities, food allergies, all of that stuff can make it worse. And so I hope that this helps. Do you guys have any questions on Yes, Brian, that's so true. Your diet is supposed to be in the webinar. If you guys sign up for my webinar, I'm going to give you guys a free 7-day meal plan and foods to eat and foods to avoid while you're trying to heal your gut and while you're trying to heal your brain, because there's definitely it's tough. I'm going to go on a little bit more of a tangent before we go to number 2. If you are having a hard time with this like whole diet lifestyle, the best thing to think about when you're looking at elimination diets, so like say no sugar or no gluten or no dairy, think about it like this. Our body is meant to be, our body's fascinating. And a lot of times we think of those restricted diets as like this giant box that we're trapped in. And so I see a lot of people struggle with it because it feels so restrictive that it almost feels like impossible or like not sustainable. And so for me, what I think about is, I don't think about it as I can't ever have bread or I can't ever have beer, because gluten really is my biggest one. Dairy is also pretty bad for me as well. But, for me, it's like I see those foods now and I realize that for me to be Emily, for me to not